I could put that sun on a string and just run it across you and tell you and ask you, I could do this experiment and say, is that sun rising or falling? If you couldn't see the string, would you be able to say yes or no? You wouldn't be able to, because as that sun gets closer to you, it gives the visual perspective that it's rising, but all it is it's positioned to you as changes, so it comes across our visual perspective, and then it goes from rises, or it comes at us from the east and goes to the west. I mean, that's what I see. And
all right, cool.
I get people that say, well, we can see extreme distances, and I'm like, why do you say when we look at vision, we're talking about the weakest part of human anatomy, and that's our vision? We have extremely poor vision.
Okay, it is late, so I don't want to get off topic onto like limits of vision or whatever.
Yeah.
I do want to stress so that I teach perspective at college.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make sure you're not imagining that I don't understand how perspective works.
Oh, I'm not. And I dedicate a section
to what you just described.
Military science
is wrong. What you just described is not correct. If we made a straight line at the consistent height above the Earth, the sun would never set, because that's what perspective says.
Who told you that?
Well, like I said again, not wanting to really dig into that topic. It's a separate topic. But here we have a college professor who teaches perspective telling you that.
Have you looked at the visual perspective on my website, the military science?
I haven't yet.
I'm not.
I can't. Have you looked at my video on how perspective works?
Yeah, I haven't seen any
through it.
I would like to see it. So send me the link to it. Please send me the link to it, Matt, and I'll take a look at it. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, okay, Matt. Let me bust it out real quick. I think I could probably come up with that. Can I come up with that? Go to my channel, go to my videos. It's gonna be old at this point. It's one of the things I did early on, because I noticed that flat earthers do not seem to understand perspective. And I also noticed, actually, when I teach it, I love this, because it's one of my most fun classes, because the students, and we're talking engineers in college, they don't know how it works either. And so I love to teach them something new. Let's see here. Where is it? It's pretty old. I gotta scroll back. Perspective experiment. Okay, I did an experiment first, and then I showed the actual add. So let's get a link. Share that. I'll throw that in the chat. There you go. You guys can watch that. I don't need to share it. But yeah, you guys can watch that, comment if you like. I'll go through the explanation of exactly
that's your channel on YouTube, correct, Matt?
Yes.
As a YouTube, okay.
Yeah. So you can go through it, and watch it. I would love for you to watch it and comment on it, because the summary, the super short summary is, people imagine that perspective is a phenomenon of nature. That's just that's it. The reality is it's emergent. It's what we call emergent, meaning it is caused by simpler principles. If you understand the simple principle and you just apply them, perspective falls out. And those principles are: light must hit your eye to be seen, or the light must hit the camera to be recorded. And the other principle is that light travels in straight lines. Now, I know light does not always travel in straight lines, but the phenomenon of perspective is caused by the straight line travel.
Now, would you say that our human anatomy, our visual, the way we see things, interacts with that, or?
No, actually, I would say no, it does not, because most of our observations that we share with each other are not taken by our eye. They're taken by CCDs, cameras.
Well, what I'm saying is how we view things. So in other words, the human anatomy, the eye, the makeup. So you're saying that
no, because I cannot share with you. I mean, I can describe what I see, but I cannot share with you what I see. But what I can do is I can break out a camera, take a picture, and send it to you. And then you can zoom in on it or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no biological components involved. So if you want to critique about how my retinas are affecting this or the shape of my eyeball, whatever, there's no eyeball. It's a camera, right? So if you wanted to say, do I think the optics of a camera could have something to do with it? Then yeah, we could talk about the optics of a camera.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. That's interesting. I'll definitely have to watch it.
Okay, yeah, just take a look. And yeah, I get where you're coming from here. I'm sure you've heard, some people have speculated that you're not being honest in some way. And I want to state very clearly, you seem completely honest to me. You seem absolutely honest and forthright. I see no reason to question your integrity at all. So I don't think anybody should say anything like that. We don't all get math the same way. We don't all look at things the same way. Right. I went through my process. My process was, I took your observations. I tried to make sense of them. It sounds legit. It really does. And I consider myself pretty good with math and 3D and perspective and all that. And it seems, at first I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, the sun shouldn't be above 45 degrees. Yeah. And then I went, this is the difference though. And I would like you to really reflect on this. I took the next step of saying, but my intuition, where we're at now is intuition. I think that's right. I feel that that's right. The next step is to be critical of your intuition and to say, what does the online resources say? The online resources say you're not right. So either they're lying or you made a mistake.
Well, I wouldn't go to, I never like to use the term, people are lying. I think it's a matter of understanding. So they understand it from a point, from their point. And I think that's what you see on it. And thanks for the comments. I kind of look at you the same way from what I've seen right now. You do conduct a critical analysis. I like the way you kind of think. So again, I appreciate that. We can talk, and that's nice that people can talk and not just get in a heated argument. And we may not, at the end of the day, we may not agree, but at least we can talk about things, and maybe we can learn something from each other that we didn't know before we met. So
yep.
I always try and take the positive from something. And again, the internet is full of negative people. You see a lot of negative people. And I hate to see that, because I like staying in the positive.
Right.
Again, I appreciate you for letting me come on your show, having a great discussion. You do yourself credit, Matt.
Well, thank you. And I think it's been really nice having you as a guest. Really great. I would like this to be a model for everybody to come and do this. Instead, one time I accidentally, I didn't know I was doing it. I went on to a Discord channel and I didn't know who it was really. And they just wanted to shout at me, and they didn't want to listen to anything that I had to say.
Yeah. That's tough.
It's just a waste of time.
Yeah, it's tough. It can be tough, because there are some people out there that's all they want to do. They want to be antagonists and stuff, and that's not what science is really about. Science should be the discovery. How we look at things, and what is this place that we live on, and what is nature, and a lot of things. That some things we may not understand. So hopefully this gives us insight, knowledge, perspective. Questions, certain questions we may have not thought about. And that's why I like talking to people about the subject. Maybe there's things that I haven't thought about. What else? what else? Maybe Matt has pointed out something. Maybe I didn't look at that. Maybe I need to relook it and look at the data. So
I'm curious, as we split up here, I'm curious what do you think about the SunCalc prediction? Do you the way I break it down?
yeah,
SunCalc says 49 degrees, right?
Yeah,
and so I'm like, A, SunCalc is lying. B,
don't use the term lying, Matt. Just say SunCalc has their methodology.
Well, okay. I just want to throw that on there. It's a possibility because you do hear it a lot that they've deliberately, that they know the correct answer is something below 45 degrees for the model. That they know, somehow they know, right? I think we can agree somehow they know how to get the correct answer because you measured it and it matched.
So here's another thing, and not just to kind of get off topic. In other words, I've told, and I'm going to play a third person. Hey, Matt and Corey, this is what you've been told you live on. Next day I come up to you, hey, Matt and Corey, remember that conversation we had yesterday? By the way, the earth is really, this is what you live on. You don't live on that. What are the repercussions? In other words, how does that affect you? In other words, people say, well, why would people lie? Why would they tell you a certain?
Why would they lie? Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
I'm definitely stumped on that one. But I've heard explanations.
You have to look at how would that affect, because I get the question, well, why doesn't the military then say something? It's not the military's business. They're not going to, that's not their arena. In other words, they're not going to come out and say, oh yeah, by the way, and also the earth is flat. Do you realize the repercussions that would have, the rippling effect it would go through the markets, through everything else, through education? Right. You've got a lot of people with a lot of heavy hardware on their wall, and then all of a sudden you're going to tell them, oh yeah, and by the way, this isn't what the earth is, this is what it is, and we have proof. Now all of a sudden,
doesn't the military kind of need to know the correct answer though?
So here's my analogy of that, and that bring up a good question. In other words, what do the top people really know? In other words, that pyramid, the pyramid effect. Who really needs to know?
The guy who's loading fuel onto the ship, right?
People don't.
It's not the top people. We need to load X gallons of diesel fuel to get this ship from here to the South China Sea. We got to know how far that is.
Yeah, but people right? are so busy in their day. Like I told you in the beginning of this, I never really thought or really cared about, well, who cares really what the surface or what the Earth shape is.
This is we don't think about it. We just punch the numbers into the calculator.
Keep going, and I don't think about it. And again, a lot of people just don't think about it. But again, once you look at the cosmologies, there's a rippling effect, because now not only are we talking about, well, hey, by the way, the earth is this, and then all of a sudden you've just crushed one side or the other. You just literally crushed them. Now I'm not in this to see people in pain. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with embarrassing people. For one thing, I'm not going to go out there to embarrass you. What I want is, let's talk and have understanding, and let's have good dialogue. Treat people with respect.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we all got to get along.
Okay. So if I could pin you down on this real quick, you think, I'm going to tell you what you think. You tell me if I got it right. You think that like the suncalc.org is programmed based on a mistake. It's a misunderstanding of some kind that you know better than they do.
I would say our methodology is different. That's how I would word it.
Okay. Your methodologies are different. Let me go out on a limb here. One of them is right and one of them is wrong. Or they could both be wrong, but they cannot both be right.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. And based on just your feeling, your gut feeling, your intuition, your understanding of how the universe works.
Well, that's a big statement there.
It seems to you somehow you've come.
I will tell you, I don't know how the universe works. There's a lot of stuff I don't know.
Right. Well, I just mean
I ain't going out on that pedestal.
Okay. Your gut feeling your instinct tells you that the way you've worked it out is correct, and these suncalc.org folks are wrong.
Based on my methodology and my principles and applications, I get a different result.
And you're inclined to believe that your result is correct and theirs is incorrect.
In my understanding, I would take that position, yes.
Okay. Do you think that you're qualified?
That's a great question. Who is qualified?
Who is, are there people more qualified than you to answer this?
I don't know. Really? That's like asking that universe question. Who's qualified to do what?
Who's qualified to perform or open heart surgery? Are you?
In combat, I might have to.
Heaven forbid, right?
You're an open heart surgeon.
I guess where I'm coming from is it seems like people learn this stuff and they study it and they practice it, and that gives them a level of qualification higher than you or I probably have.
And that goes to, you're talking about, again, the example I used, that somebody walks up to you and says, oh yeah, by the way, this is really what Earth is. And then all of a sudden you got all these people that were highly qualified. What do you do?
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm getting. What do you do? I think most people say, I'm going with the qualified. I'm going with the experts.
I'm going with the flow. In other words, don't ruffle. And I think the military does that. I think some people have information otherwise, but the effect it would have on civilization, because civilization is developed already. In other words, we've seen the globe in our classrooms and all the way up, and you throw all this stuff in years and years and years, and now all of a sudden you're going to come up and say, oh yeah, by the way, you don't live on that. This is what you really live on. That's going to have serious repercussions. And I think the people that are kind of running the show, they look at that and they go, yeah, let's just kind of hold off on this until it actually is kind of forced out. If it's forced out.
That's a very plausible explanation. I take a different route at it. I start with my default position is, the experts have studied this more than I have. My default position is they probably know something I don't know. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay. And so then when I see something that is counter to what the experts are telling me, I think there's three options, right? There's go with the experts, assume I'm wrong, which is what I usually do. Study it enough to become an expert myself. Or the third option, which is to get into an internet chat room and just go with whatever they tell me. I think you've done enough study that I feel like you actually tried to become an expert yourself.
I don't know that I wouldn't classify myself as an expert. Now, military subject matter expert, yeah. And that's what I had to kind of fall back onto, with a lot of geometry and stuff like that. That's kind of the route I took at it and how I went about it. Again, people are going to go into areas where they have kind of a certain confidence. I'll say a certain confidence, just like you teach college level, right?
Yeah.
How long have you done that?
I've been a full-time teacher for 5-6 years, I guess. Before that, I was in industry doing engineering.
Okay, cool. And I like engineering. I tried to get my daughter to go into engineering. She's like, Dad, I'm going
STEM. Tell her to do STEM, and don't share this flat Earth stuff with her. If you want her to have a successful career, take this. I know some of the flat Earthers are going to hate on this. If you want her to have a successful career, you want her to have a STEM degree, get in a good college, going in there with saying the Earth is flat, she's gonna hit that brick wall of society, whether the Earth is flat or round, right? You can believe the Earth is flat, but putting your kids out there, telling your kids the Earth is flat, they're gonna hit that wall of established science and not get anywhere.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And to add to that point, I get people from science emailing me saying, I'm on your side, but I can't come out. In other words, because I'm ostracized. He said, I totally get it. And this is from science.
If you would forward them to me, I'd like to talk to them.
Because
and they can stay anonymous.
Now, well, and these people, they say, they tell me, and I said, hey, I ain't going to tell you, I understand it. It's when you go into this area, you're out there. And that's 90% of the flat Earth community is in the closet.
I think that's probably fair to say. That's probably true. Although for every flat earther that's in the closet, I think there's a troll. There's a
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.